Hey guys, Micah Woodbury here, also known on Twitter and Instagram as MicDub_23 and on PlayStation Network as MicDub23. Today, we're going to be talking about No Man's Sky, the basics of No Man's Sky. This game has been announced for a few years now, and we're just around the corner. It comes out in less than 4 weeks. I can't believe it. I've been waiting for this game for 2 years, and it's almost here. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the basics of the game, because a lot of people still don't know about No Man's Sky. I don't know really what world you live in if you don't know about No Man's Sky, but we're going to go over the basics. Keep in mind that these are just the basics. This isn't a super in-depth video about all of the inner workings of No Man's Sky, but this is just something to get your feet wet and to get you some information about the game. According to the No Man's Sky website, No Man's Sky is a game about exploration and survival. If you've heard about the game and you've seen video of it, then you know that that's exactly what this game is about. The game is inspired by classic sci-fi games, comic books, and novels. And to be honest, it's kind of the game that we've all dreamed of when we were kids, thinking about going to different planets, space exploration, finding different creatures and aliens. That's a lot of what No Man's Sky is about. But Hello Games took this to a completely different level. For No Man's Sky, Hello Games created a procedurally generated universe or galaxy, whatever you want to say, composed of over 18 quintillion planets. Remember, this game is totally procedurally generated, not random. They've created an algorithm that allows them to generate planets, ships, and even sounds with a large amount of variation, which makes everything that you see in the game unique. For example, this algorithm will cause very large creatures to project very low and deep sounds, and they'll also move slower. Obviously, if you've seen a large animal, they don't have a lot of high-pitched noises. I mean, like a rhinoceros doesn't have little screeches like a bird coming out of its mouth. It sounds very guttural and low, bassy voice. That's kind of how things are going to go in the game. Another example, planets further from the sun will have different characteristics than those that are closer to it. Obviously, like in our own solar system, different planets have different characteristics depending on how close they are to the sun. Even the music in the game is procedural. So again, make sure that you realize and remember that this game is procedurally generated, not random. A lot of people get that confused. Random generation just is willy-nilly. They just throw things together. No Man's Sky has a system, and keep that in mind. There are no loading screens in No Man's Sky, planets, topography included, and creatures are generated in real time. So when you're flying across the land, or when you're flying into a planet, which you can do seamlessly from space, you can go into a planet's atmosphere and outside of it into space seamlessly. Everything is being rendered right in front of you in real time. Another thing to remember is that planets are planet-sized. Some are smaller than Earth, some are going to be larger than Earth. That means if I land on a planet and I want to explore all of it, it's going to take me probably a lifetime. I mean, you would think, and they've said that if you decide that you want to walk around a planet, it's going to take you a very, very long time. It's not going to be like Fallout 4, where you can go from one end of the map to the other in 20 minutes. And unlike RPGs that we see these days, this game doesn't have a boundary. When you play games like The Witcher 3, which is an amazing game, and Fallout 4, big games like that, they have a boundary. You can only go so far in those worlds. Not so with No Man's Sky. Also, the planets in No Man's Sky orbit suns in their solar systems, which are how day-night cycles are created. It's not like a swatch in the sky that changes over time like a lot of video games that we see changing from day to night. No, these are actual solar systems working. They're orbiting the sun, and that's how the day-night cycles are created in No Man's Sky. So you may be asking yourself, what is the goal of the game? What do you do in No Man's Sky? Well, first off, the overarching goal, which you can choose to follow or not follow, is reaching the center of the universe, or again, galaxy. There's been debate over whether this is a universe or whether it is a galaxy. I'm just going to stick with universe for the time being. Anyway, And getting to the center of the universe isn't going to be an easy task. This game, again, has over 18 quintillion planets. So think about that. Sean Murray has said that over 99% of these planets will never be visited. Obviously, not everyone on this planet is going to have No Man's Sky. Not everyone on Earth is going to have No Man's Sky. And even if they did, it would take us such a long time to discover every planet. And that's if we were on each planet, everybody on Earth, for 1 second for the rest of their lives. That's completely mind-blowing. And, you know, you're going to start on your own planet. Everybody starts on their own planet. No one's going to spawn and start their journey in No Man's Sky on the same planet. And we're all trying to get to the center of the universe, if that's what you want to do. But that's the closest thing to a main objective, quote unquote, that we're going to have in No Man's Sky. You decide what you want to be in this game. Sean Murray, the essentially god of No Man's Sky, he is the founder of Hello Games and a programmer on the game, has said that the most popular ways to play the game are as an explorer, as a trader, or as a fighter. And some people might even want to be a scientist. But he said those aren't the only ways. And some people may choose to stay on a planet for weeks or months at a time, discovering everything there is to know about that planet. Some people may try to get to the center of the universe as quickly as possible. Some people may spend their entire time, or most of their time, in space, attacking freighters and AI ships, essentially being a space pirate. And that's one of the main things that's exciting about this game. You can be whoever you want to be. Now let's talk about exploration in No Man's Sky. For many people, the biggest and most intriguing aspect of No Man's Sky is the exploration element. Again, there are so many possibilities when it comes to what we will see in No Man's Sky. They've shown us a little bit, but they've said we really haven't seen much yet. I'm so excited about all of the possibilities. Planets, ships, creatures, monoliths, caves, different elements, and everything like that. There's going to be so many different things to explore in this game, and that's probably going to be how I play the game for the most part, as an explorer. In No Man's Sky, you can interact with NPCs, non-player characters. There will be a few different races that you encounter throughout the game. Each of these races have their strengths and specialize in certain areas. Better relations with NPCs can help you receive items from them, such as ships or important information. You can trade with them, converse with them, build good or bad relationships with them. How you interact with NPCs during your journey can have a lasting effect throughout all of your travels. That means if you go to a few planets, and we've seen the Korvax already in videos, we've seen the Korvax NPC. If you go and decide that you want to kill like 5 or 6 Korvax on each planet that you find for about 10 or 15 planets, that's going to have a lasting effect. I would assume that they will not like you very much. So word of advice, don't go around just killing all of the NPCs. I mean, you can, and Sean has talked about being a space dick, and if you feel that you want to be one of those, then by all means, go ahead and kill the NPCs. You can also discover monoliths in No Man's Sky, and what monoliths are, I guess, ancient stones with different ancient markings on them. You can find out about certain things in No Man's Sky. They're definitely key in helping you learn NPC languages. When you find NPCs, you're not going to be able to speak to them immediately. You're going to need to understand their language. We're going to have to learn different languages in No Man's Sky. They don't speak English like we do, but these monoliths can help us to translate or understand different words in, for instance, the Korvax language. Also, sleeping in front of monoliths can do different things for you, such as restore your health. Also, monoliths will help us to discover the lore of No Man's Sky. We don't know all that monoliths can influence just yet, but we know that they are scattered across planets. As far as I know, there are monoliths on most of the planets, if not all of them. This next feature is incredible and is going to be very fun for a lot of people. You can name and store your discoveries of animals, planets, etc. Information that you gather can be stored in the Atlas, And the Atlas is essentially a database for the players of the game. It's like the brain of the universe for the most part. And we see the Atlas a few times, and we've seen it in advertisements, posters. It's that diamond-shaped object that we see in the sky pulsing with that red light in the middle. So again, all of our discoveries can be stored in the Atlas, and to my knowledge, the Atlas can be accessed by all players of No Man's Sky. So you may be saying to yourself, Micah, this sounds awesome. There are so many possibilities, so many things that you can see. Well, let's not forget, No Man's Sky, your journey in this game is not going to be a walk in the park. It's not going to be a cakewalk. This game is also about survival. Sean Murray has said that he wants No Man's Sky to be a game that anyone can pick up and enjoy, but he's also said that certain points in this game could compare to the difficulty of Dark Souls. Guys, Dark Souls is one of the toughest games ever created, if not the toughest. And for Sean to say that there are elements of this game that could be just as difficult or more difficult, that's kind of intense. That's a little jarring. You're going to come across planets that can be extremely hot or extremely cold. Others may be toxic, some may be radioactive. And your survival on these planets relies heavily on your thermal shielding as well as the strength and ability of your multi-tool or weapon. Upgrades to your multi-tool, such as the land disruptor that we've seen a few times, can help you alter the terrain and find cover in hidden caves or caverns. If you don't have something like a land disruptor, it could end up being fatal for you. Another possibility in No Man's Sky is getting lost. That's a real possibility. Some people will pop out of their ship and walk around for an hour and lose track of where their ship is, have no idea where they left their ship. You could possibly mark your tracks. I've thought about this. You could possibly mark your tracks by shooting holes into the ground every like 5, 10, 15, 20 feet. Or you could try something else. I don't know. In a more extreme situation, you could find yourself running from sentinels and lose track of where your ship has landed. And that, guys, would pretty much be hell. Because if you can't find it, you're stranded. Unless you find a building and there's an NPC in it and you can possibly buy a ship from them, which would be nice, but you want to keep your ship, guys. That brings me to Sentinels, which I just mentioned. Sentinels are intelligent, droid-like robot patrolmen, I guess that you could say that patrol the planets. If you become hostile with animals, try to break into locked buildings, mine too heavily, the Sentinels will attack you. No Man's Sky has a GTA-like wanted level system. If you've seen any of the videos with Sean Murray playing, or with Anthony Carboni, or the head of PlayStation, Shuhei Yoshida, then you've seen this wanted level system. The higher the level goes, the more Sentinels will arrive, and the harder they'll be to defeat or evade. And remember, Sentinels will not be on every planet. Again, Sentinels will not be on every planet, but definitely the planets with life on them, because they're trying to preserve the life on these planets and how the planet is already. If you take your battle into space, then the space police or space military detail may come after you. If you get your ship and flee a planet with a wanted level that's too high, you could end up finding, well, I guess they could find you, the space police, out there in space. If you attack freighters and space stations, the space police will also attack you there. So you got to make sure that you're picking and choosing your battles. I mean, if you're a fighter and you have a fighter's ship, then there's a chance that you can evade these space police, that you can fend them off and do what you want to do. But if you are an explorer and you have an explorer's ship, then it's going to be pretty tough if you have 4 or 5 stars, because you're going to die. That brings me to upgrades. In No Man's Sky, there aren't really set skill trees, I guess. Obviously, if you have a certain way of playing explorer, trader, fighter, then you're going to have certain elements that you're going to want to upgrade on your suit, your multi-tool, or your ship. And those are going to be the things that you upgrade in No Man's Sky. Keep in mind, Hello Games has created their own periodic table, essentially, for No Man's Sky. It does include a few real elements from our world, but they've also made their own, like Heridium or Red Mercury. So throughout the game, you can harvest these elements by using your multi-tool. You can also combine these elements, and those will allow you to upgrade your ship, your suit, or your multi-tool. This is also helpful for trading, as different elements allow you to create consumables. Your multi-tool, suit, and ship all have a certain capacity as well that can hold elements, technologies, weapons, etc. Upgrades for ships are mainly towards hyperdrives, boost drives, and weapons on your ship. You can also find blueprints for products and tech in different places like factories, crash sites, and different places like that. And these blueprints can be installed on your ship, your suit, or your multi-tool, and those can help you. So again, exploration and survival are two huge aspects of this game. That is really the core of it. But again, you can play it any way you want. Now, you may be wondering, and a lot of people have, MicDub, is there multiplayer in this game? I'm going to attempt to explain that right now by saying yes and no. I will say yes in that all No Man's Sky players will begin their journey in the same galaxy, and all of the discoveries that you save are stored in the Atlas. Remember, that's the brain. That's the massive database of the universe. Also, while the chances are incredibly slim that you'll run into another player because of how vast the universe is, it is possible that you can end up meeting another player. Some people, and there are different channels and podcasts that have talked about this, some people are dedicated to finding their friends, and this is a legitimate objective for plenty of people. There are speculations about traditional multiplayer being added to the game at some point, but we'll have to wait and see. Hello Games has said that they're open to player feedback about future patches. Now, I will say no, it is not multiplayer, in that the game is primarily meant to be played alone. Please understand this before you buy the game. The game is meant to be played alone for the most part. You will interact with creatures, AI ships, and NPCs, but you're doing these things yourself. So again, you are interacting with things, but not necessarily other players. Yes, the game is based online and can be played offline, but traditional multiplayer is not the type of experience that Hello Games is pushing with No Man's Sky right now. So keep that in mind, guys. One thing's for sure though, guys, there's so much that we still don't know about No Man's Sky. For some people, that's great, but for others, it makes them very skeptical. It's going to be very interesting to see how the game turns out once we actually have it in our hands. I'm extremely excited for it. Like I've said before, I've already made a couple of videos about it, and now it is time to get down to the nitty-gritty because we've got less than 4 weeks. No Man's Sky comes out. I've never looked forward to a game so much like I have with No Man's Sky. It could really be the production of a lifetime. I have never been so excited about a game. I need it now. I already have the limited edition pre-ordered, and I will be playing that non-stop for a week when it comes out. I've already taken off work. I'm going to make sure that my summer classes are taken care of, make sure that I'm ahead in those, and I'm going to be playing No Man's Sky. Expect some videos on the channel, and we're going to have more videos coming up for you guys. Remember, these were just the basics. There are some things that I didn't cover completely in depth, such as trading and combat, but there are more videos to come. So, again, thanks guys for joining me on MicDubTV. Go ahead, if you like this video, go ahead and click the like button, share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, any other platform, maybe Reddit, anything like that. Thank you again, guys. Always good to be here with you guys on MicDubTV. And remember, I'm Micah Woodbury. You can call me MicDub. We'll see you next time.